Assalamu alaikum, Sadia. How are you?
Alaikum salam, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fine too. Alhamdulillah. So, the topic of the podcast today is efforts of youth in change making. So, I would first want you to introduce yourself.
Sure. Assalamu alaikum, my name is Sadia. I'm a student of grade 8th, and my interests include poetry, and I look forward to becoming an author in the future. And I really like change, and I want to be a change maker as well. That's why I joined this organization.
Okay, that's great. So, could you please name a few celebrated youth change makers and their efforts, like whether they be national or international?
Yeah, first of all, I'm very sorry if I pronounce any of these names wrong. First of all, Zai Surui, I guess. She's a 25-year-old founder of the movement of indigenous youth of Rondonia. She studies laws and fights deforestation, and her work centers around mainly climate justice. Then we have Nyombi Morris. She's a Ugandan. He is a Ugandan deforestation and climate activist fighting the deforestation of Bungoma Forest. He works for the Rise Up Movement Africa, and he's planted at least 47,500 plants, and he discourages polluters. And a fun fact about Naomi is that his family owned a farm, and it actually got damaged a lot because of climate change and weather patterns. So that's why he actually worked towards climate change. Then we have Autumn Peltier, who is a 17-year-old activist from Manitoulin. She's a world-renowned water rights advocate and a leading global youth environmental activist. Then lastly, there's Brianna Fruin. I suppose that's her name, leading voice for Pacific Youth on climate change, and she's presenting at international summits. And one really inspiring thing about her is that she, from the age of 11, was a founding member of 350 Samoa, and she was the leader of an environmental group, Future Rush.
I think that's quite impressive, but yeah, that's great. What about Greta Thunberg? Is she a change maker or is she just a climate activist? I'm not sure about that.
I think she's a change maker in general because she's done a lot for the environment actually.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so how can change making be related to the climate crisis? Like, what's the relationship between change making and climate crisis?
So there's the climate crisis nowadays is getting very, very bad, and it's worsening day by day. Rising temperatures are fueling environmental degradation and natural disasters, whether it strains food and water insecurity, economic disruption, conflict, and terrorism. Climate change is really getting worse, and change makers are necessary so that these drastic changes in climate could gradually get better and even one day maybe even come to a stop. We really hope that.
Okay, so yes, but that was what I was discussing with Obin Bhai as well. We don't focus much on climate crisis. In general, the people who are illiterate, who are uneducated, they have other important issues to look towards, like poverty and businesses, their jobs and education, problems like these. So why does climate crisis always come at the end? Why is it not looked into, and why is it not thought to be significant and a dire problem, despite it being I think really important and important.
Yeah, I think that's really true because many people are of the view, and including myself, that climate change is a very big problem. It's a very pressing issue of today. And though, of course, there are many issues of nowadays, like poverty, like you're saying, discrimination, terrorism, and like gender inequality, and in general inequality and injustice and everything. I know they're very pressing issues, but we cannot really solve all these issues if the place we are living in is already not, suitable for living. We really need to take care of our environment and take care of Mother Earth because otherwise we won't be living on this planet for very long.
Yeah, and the last year there were some floods in Pakistan. So do you think that was the cause of climate change as well?
Yes, definitely. Because I've seen before that there have been many climate issues in Pakistan before, but nowadays you're seeing that they've come to a very big extent. Like we're seeing minor earthquakes nowadays. They've been twice in they've happened twice in these months, and we are expecting some more. And there have been hurricanes recently. It came in the news on the borders of Pakistan and India, and then earthquakes and hurricanes, and also the floods. We The
Yeah.
floods gained us a lot of popularity, honestly, because we got a lot of donations and everything as well. These floods, I think they were a major cause of climate change, and this is a wake up call to all of our governments and everything, because we really need to take action. Everything is getting very worse, especially here in Asia.
And desertification and drought are also some of the other, effects, as well as the melting of ice sheets.
Yeah.
So, could you please, just briefly describe how desertification can lead to drought and economic crisis?
Yeah, many of us might have read this in geography as well. That desertification, the main thing that is affected by deforestation is that when erosion happens, erosion can lead to desertification, and it's a major issue everywhere, especially in parts of Africa. Even in parts of the subcontinent, there are a lot of deserts, and everything is becoming desertification is becoming very common, and there have been sandstorms everywhere, internationally and globally, and that is also because of erosion. And we are not planting trees, and you can see everywhere that trees are being cut down more and more. And I know this is a very saturated topic because everybody's talking about it, but it's because that is very important.
You're definitely right. What does change making actually include?
So change making involves using empathy, thoughtfulness, creativity, and taking action and collaborative leadership to work towards solving a social problem. Of course, one thing I want to point out is that many people assume, like it's just something natural, that they assume that change making is just climate change and everything. But we actually, change makers actually work towards any social issue in general. For example, I know that you did a lot of podcasts about gender inequality and everything. So these are major issues in the world, and we don't just work towards one problem. There are a lot of issues, and I think this type of occupation of change makers is very necessary, especially in today's world.
Exactly. And another question I would just like to ask, randomly, our forefathers and predecessors and those people didn't really care about climate change, although it has always happened on Earth. But the rapid effects are now, making it more
Prominent.
prominent. Yeah, exactly. So why even the older generations, like our parents, they do care about climate change, but not to that extent. Maybe because they have other important things to do, look after the homes and everything. Do we really need their contribution? Youth are doing a lot of things. Do we need their contribution as well?
I think absolutely we do need contribution, because sometimes I see my sister as well. We're sitting in the car and my father will be throwing trash outside the window, and we really tell them that we do need contribution from youth and the elders as well, because there can't be just some people of the youth working towards this. We need everyone. We can everyone to work towards change making.
Okay, so how can human behavior and international fraternity affect global peace?
So if we regard the values of compassion, and we actually have mutual respect for each other, international fraternity becomes more common. We can actually be working towards global peace. In the tough times of today, we really do need global peace, and we truly need to work towards a future where we can live peacefully amongst each other. If humans change their mindset and behavior, and we fraternize with everyone globally, we could live with peace and prosperity. I've seen that from many years, many generations, one major thing that we have all struggled with is actually fraternizing with each other and actually living in peace.
Exactly.
Because everybody, you see everywhere that everybody is fighting.
Yeah.
We actually need mutual respect for each other. And you see many nations fighting with each other, and they're always famous for always causing fights, like Russia and US, or Russia and Ukraine, Palestine and Israel. Everywhere you see, there is no global peace. Nobody
And
has
even Pakistan and India.
Exactly.
Although they used to be, they used to be one country as a continent. They used to live in such harmony and peace, and um, there was no like rivalry and violence over there. But since 19 in the in the early 90s, there was this partition planning and stuff, and now we are like mad after each other, and we're just
Honestly, this is really bad. Honestly, I think that now in the modern times of today, Pakistanis and Indians shouldn't even have a problem with each other. Even if it's not just our governments, not the people actually, we should not have that with each other. You see that in Pakistan and India, you see that I think this is just this sort of generational trauma because we see that Pakistanis, you go right now and ask our parents that do you like India, and they will start cursing them and everything. It's just generational trauma, and sometimes I think that this is just internationally there's an irrational fear of other nations. We're just discriminating irrationally right now. We really need to work towards global peace.
Yeah, and these viewpoints need to change in time, because I think कोई इतना बड़ा issue तो नहीं है. मतलब if they have a different religion, we have a different religion. We are the same kind of people. We are humans after all. ठीक है? And and we had a lot of we spent a lot of years together. We have a big history, the history of the subcontinent, which even the British remember. The whole world knows of it. So just forgetting it and forgetting what our forefathers did for us and everything, it's kind of childish. It's not really mature.
Honestly, I think that somewhere, somehow, sometime, we need to cut this generational trauma, because now this is just becoming irrational. First of all, we don't even have to have a problem with each other, and Indians for no reason they hate Pakistanis. Pakistanis for no reason hate India. And the funny thing is that some of the Pakistanis are roots not our far forefathers. They're not even that far in history. Our early forefathers were even Indians, and we have a lot of roots from India. Like you see, Rajput nowadays, they're also from India. Their early descendants are Indians, and we just have this irrational fear of Indians when we're actually basically we have the same roots.
और हम अपनी मतलब पीस प्रमोट करते हैं, हमने पीसफुल होना है, ये करना है, वो करना है. इतने एजुकेटेड होते हुए भी हम जिस तरह बाकी मुल्कों में होती है, I don't know about them, लेकिन हमारा ये कि सबसे बड़ा इशू जो है वो इंडिया के साथ है. उतना बड़ा और इवन इसराइल के साथ भी नहीं है. ठीक है, उतना इंडिया के साथ क्यों है, I don't know the reason. उनको भी उतना ही हमसे है, मगर अब इन चीजों को चेंज होना पड़ेगा.
क्योंकि पहले के वक्त में तो ये होता था ना कि पाकिस्तानी जो थे हमारे लिए इस्लाम बहुत एक जरूरी चीज थी, तो इंडियंस उससे जरा तंग आ जाते थे और उनको इस्लाम को बहुत ज्यादा डिस्क्रिमिनेट करते थे. So that's why Indians just kind of work towards this movement against Pakistan, and Pakistanis also started hating the Indians for that. But you see that nowadays there's not even that many Pakistanis. There's not many Indians that actually have a problem with Islam. But the Indians still hate us not because of our religion, but because Pakistanis are hating them back. So if somebody actually takes the first step, we could actually work towards a bright future with peace and prosperity.
Exactly. And I don't really remember what Gandhi